Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is
Hello.
Elsie, known as A Cup of Elsie. And I know it's been a while, but I'm back with some life-changing interviews and videos that I think that you would like. But before I get into anything, I would like to introduce you to my friend Isaac. Today we're going to be talking about something important to a lot of immigrants. And
Mhm.
Isaac is going to be our first guest on this series. So I'll let Isaac introduce himself and we'll jump right into it. So, Isaac, introduce yourself.
My name is Isaac. I like Elsie said, I'm from Ghana. By day, I work as an actuary in health insurance consulting, and I have a YouTube channel with a partner, a friend of mine on this side as well. It's Gonksman TV, so you can go check us out. We have some interesting contents there as well. And yeah, what else should I add?
Well, you have to explain to us what an actuary does, right? Those
What
who
an
do
actuary
actuarial
does.
science. So when
Oh,
we get
okay.
into the video, more into the video, I'll
Yeah,
ask more
sure.
questions about that. But thank you so
Okay.
much for taking time to allow me speak with you and share your experience as an immigrant.
Mhm.
We're going to delve right into it. So you've told us a little bit about yourself, and I'm glad that you mentioned that you're from Ghana, and you also have a YouTube channel. I'm going to put the link somewhere in the description and also somewhere in the video so others can follow, and a link to your YouTube as well. So other people can follow. Yes, guys, please follow his channel because I've actually been on the channel. I
Yes.
spoke on a few things. So if you want to see what we spoke about,
Yeah.
do well to visit his channel and take a look at it. But today we're going to be talking about surviving as an educated immigrant. So not just an immigrant, but this time as an educated immigrant, right? Knowing you from Ghana, and then coming to meet you again in the US, what would you say the difference has been for you? Let's start with what the difference is between Ghana and the United States of America.
In terms of what, like professionally or like
You can
education
choose
wise,
on
or
any level.
I
Just
mean
pick what comes to mind when you look at the difference.
I mean there's like a bunch of differences. So when it comes to education, I think I'll even use my experience coming to school, right? Assessing funding for coming to school and all of that. I think the process was well laid out. It was very transparent. That's one thing that I always appreciate about, here, that I know that if I follow X, Y, and Z path, that this is the end result, right? And there are no guarantees and things vary, but there's a certain level of predictability here that I don't think that exists in most things back home in Ghana. So that's one difference that I saw and I appreciated. What else? In school, I think our professors were a little bit more hands-on, even at like a graduate level. They were very hands-on, and that was a little bit different from what I had seen in the attitude of some of my professors back in Ghana. A lot of them seem to think that they were like lecturers instead of just teachers, instead of like teachers. And there's a little bit of a difference, right? If you are teaching somebody, you're a little bit more hands-on. You're giving them assignments, making sure that they're doing things, tests, multiple tests, and all of that. If you are giving a lecture, it feels like you are just talking. If you like, take notes. If you like, don't take notes. It's not very hands-on, right? So there was a little bit of a difference in the way the education at the university level was run in Ghana and here. I mean, culture shocks. Now they're plenty. Now they're plenty that I can't even count. One of my big culture shocks was when I came. I was a graduate assistant, like a TA, and I would see some of my students, and I would try to like say hi and all of that, but they weren't as receptive. In Ghana, when you see your TA there, you have to like, when you see somebody, you immediately, even if you don't know them too well, just the fact that you know about them, there's a certain level of, you see them as an acquaintance, right? And so you acknowledge them in public, right? But here, sometimes it takes a certain level of knowing the person a little bit more personally, right? The fact that you are my teacher in class doesn't mean that I have have any duty to acknowledge you in public, right? Or you have any duty to acknowledge me in public, which is very different from the way that our society is back home. It's more once you see somebody you know somewhere there, at least you have to give them the nod or
Yeah.
some hi or something. But yeah,
You still give us more examples,
yeah,
but I like the fact that you took them from different angles, from education to
yeah,
like lifestyle and all that. So tell me, when you were back in Ghana, were you studying actuarial science? Was
yes.
that
So
your major?
yeah. Yeah, so I went to KNUST, and that's the major that I had in university in Ghana, actuarial science. Yeah, that's what I did.
Why didn't you work with that in Ghana and decided that you had to like travel? Are there not opportunities for
Well,
actuaries or?
yeah, so the biggest pipeline for an actuary into industry is to work in insurance. Most actuaries work in insurance. There are some that are in like non-traditional roles and all of that. Can even find some in sport and all of that. But then the thing is, if you are going to move from actuarial science into insurance in Ghana, the industry is not very big. There are about like 20 something insurance companies. If you look at them from like in Ghana, they break it up into two, and even here as well. So they break it up into like the life and then the general business. So cars and stuff like car, property and casualty. That's what we call it. And then we have the life and other businesses. So even if you break every company in Ghana into two, right, for life part, and that's like 40 companies, right? There's 20 in general. But then they don't, not all of the companies have actuarial departments in house. And even for those that have actuarial departments, they outsource a lot of the work that they do to like consultants and stuff, sometimes who are not in Ghana, right? And then there are a couple actuarial consulting companies in Ghana. But I say all of this to say that the industry is very small. Even the actuarial departments in each of the companies don't have a lot of people. So if you want to practice, it's more or less becomes okay, you have to look for you have to be able to get one of the scarce opportunities, or you have to look outside of Ghana. The level of sophistication that we do as well is not very high, right? So for example, when it comes to something like car insurance, the rates that people charge for car insurance is very highly regulated and determined by the National Insurance Commission. So there's not a lot of wiggle room for you to use actuarial skill in that aspect, right? So it kind of like limits the extent to which you can explore. If it's not entirely like you cannot grow or anything like that, but just the difference in the dynamics. So then I started looking for opportunities outside. There are opportunities in some other African countries as well, because I know some actuaries that work in Nigeria because a bigger market in the UK and elsewhere. So yeah, that's why I started to explore other opportunities.
So your exploration led you to the U.S. So being coming to the U.S., you came. I'm assuming you came as a student, or
Yeah,
you got a direct job to come here.
no.
I mean, it's possible.
It's
People
hard.
just just come
No,
because of the
yeah.
education from back home. They just get a job that brings them straight to the U.S. and then they
That
start to work.
that is very hard. You have to be of a certain. It's hard to come straight from school into the US into a job, right? If you want to get like an actuary or whatever, you have to have proven, some exceptional something that's from school to here straight. I don't know a lot of people who have done that. Most of the time, people come to grad school and then the job opportunities open after grad school. There are no guarantees and all of that, but yeah, that's the typical path that a lot of people trade, not straight to working. I know people who have left Ghana to come and work here, but one person that I knew was like a very highly qualified engineer with like 10 years something experience, and he was known in the industry. So like he has
It
people
was
know about
easy.
his work. So that's what's in my experience. But hey, I don't know it also.
Okay. So would you say being an immigrant or coming into the US as a student, it was easy for you to find a job or like get like people to headhunt you for like roles in your field?
Well, it's not necessarily easy, and it also depends on the course that you come and do. So for a lot of the STEM courses, I think in my view or in my experience, I feel like there are opportunities that exist for the STEM courses. And even when it comes to like the OPT and the extension of the OPT, the OPT is like optional practical training, which is a 1 year a 1 year,
Work
I
permit.
don't know, work permit that you get. But if you are on a STEM course, that can be extended to 3 years for you. So if so, it depends on the course, but particularly with actuarial science, and I'll make reference back to what I said that there's predictability, right? I'm an actuary. Risk is opportunity. When we have things that are not predictable, it's opportunity for us to quantify that. But then also you want to have some level of like predictability. So in actuarial science, most of your work or most of your job prospects hang on your ability to take the actual exams and pass. So I know that, for example, while I'm in grad school, if I take my for the preliminary exams, if I take like out of the five, I don't know the current number right now. By the time I was writing, there was like five, or it ended up becoming six. Let's say there's six. If I have three of the six exams passed, I most likely have a chance, right, with a good GPA from a US university and all of that. And of course, interviewing well and all of that, I have a chance of getting a job, right? So there's a certain level of predictability there. I don't know if that extends to other programs. Maybe you can speak to it.
So there are opportunities. I think with the US, if you come in specifically as an immigrant, you may get opportunities. Like you said, it depends on the company. It depends on what their legal backing towards an immigrant is, and
Yeah,
then you'll be able to get the job. But
yeah,
if you're not an immigrant, of course, then there may be other opportunities for you first before the consideration is given to
yeah,
immigrants.
yeah.
So yeah,
So
in every field, it
that's
is.
the life we chose.
Yeah, it's that way. So it unfortunately it is what it is, but yeah, they have to give
Yeah,
preference to citizens
citizens.
before
Yeah, yeah, which is
what
fair.
would
I mean, if
allow
you ask
for.
me.
I believe so too. So did you get a job right after school? So now you're educated, you have another degree in the United States, you have one from back from Ghana, and then you have one in the US. Would you say that your degree in the US has put you on a pedestal for you to succeed being an immigrant?
So yes, I mean, from two fronts: the education that I got, the education that I got, the experiences that I got through my like education, right? And then even the fact that you have a US degree helped. So on first instance, so when I first came here, I started applying for internships, right? And that's one good thing that you comes to your advantage when you are looking for a full-time job. If you have worked in corporate America through internships and all of that, that helps. So I started applying for internships. It was hard to get internships, right? I had three actual exams passed. I came in January, so as of the time we were going into the summer, I actually couldn't work. There are some laws about you having to be here 2 semesters before you can work. I didn't know that first. So then I had to wait till the next summer. So by that time, my GPA, I had gotten some results. My GPA was good. I had my actual exams passed and all of that. So then it helped me to get an internship. Now, once I got an internship and that was on my resume, getting a job, like I got more interviews for job offers than I got for my internship, because now I had a US education, I had a good GPA, I had my actual exams under my belt as well, and then I had like job work experience as well. Uh, so the confluence of those things helped me to secure a job eventually. So yeah, that's what I'll say. And even just the education itself, being in school, going to like career fairs, going to certain talks and presentations that were had, it helped me to acquaint myself with, you know, navigating navigating like social stuff in the US, right? And even though it's not a corporate environment, you see how people work, how people do things, how people communicate, all of that stuff. So yeah, what was your question again?
Would you say that being an educated immigrant has given you, like, put you on a higher pedestal to succeed in
Yeah,
the US? Like,
yeah,
because I
I would
know
say
that there
so.
are people who come and then they don't go to school, right? They come and then straight away they're like going to get a job, and then to the job they get promoted, or and it could be any job really.
Yeah.
Um, but would you say that from looking back where you started till now, being having that formal education has really put you on a place where if you didn't have it and you entered the US, you probably would not be where you are today.
Yeah, I'll say yes and no, because yes, because like my life and the path that I've gone, that's what I have seen, right? And that's what I've seen from a lot of other people as well. So there's a lot of people who have taken this path. There's actually a lot of Ghanaian actuaries in the US. So that's like a path that is, a lot of people take. But then no, also because there are people who have come and have been successful through other means, right? But I feel like if you ask me, again, predictability. If you come and you go to school and you have a US degree, you do well, you demonstrate that you probably have an internship and all of that, the chances of you getting a certain level of work is high. Now, at that point, everything depends on how well you work and all. So somebody might come here through whatever means. I mean, maybe like let's say they won the the lottery, the visa lottery or whatever. They come here, they don't have a US education. But then by dint of their own hard work and their ingenuity and navigating the system, they might be more successful than me or whatever they do. And here I mean success in terms of getting a well-paid job and having a fulfilled life, basically, right? But for me, I feel like having that education helped, and yeah, I would advise anybody who comes here to to get a good education under their belt. It does open doors.
Okay. So you speaking on that has me wanting to ask like three different questions in three different directions. So it's more on what advice would you give
Indeed.
people when it comes to picking courses or program of study? And then also the other question is with people that don't there are people that are opportune to come with like the lottery and
Yeah.
like, they already have their papers when they come in. What advice would you give them? Would you say focus on getting some formal education or go work or come back after working a little bit? Because at that point, that person has an upper hand than somebody who just came in through school, right?
Yeah.
So, looking at that angle, what advice would you give these category of people? To what advice would you give them?
So two questions. Let's start with the second question first, and maybe you can remind me of the first question. I forgot. So the second question: if you come into, let's say, the lottery or something, I would say it depends on your circumstances, but and I don't know everybody's personal circumstance, but I would say that whatever the circumstances, try and fit in education somewhere. You know, so if you come through, let's say you get a lottery, you have a Ghanaian degree. There's I think that there's a certain level of work that you might not be able to get. Right? Let's say you get a job, you are in a job. I think you might it will serve you well if you got some certification or degree here to catapult you into the next level. Um, some people might start from the bottom with the jobs that they're doing, but it's advisable for you to get that education under your belt because in my view I think the doors that it opens for you is worthwhile, right? So yeah, that would be my advice. Maybe like night school or something like a community, even if it's like community college or something. There are many ways to get education here. There, even if it's like a certification, there are not a lot of people who are like cybersecurity and things like that, right? They are not going to a formal university or whatever, but there may be like cybersecurity courses that you can take to get that type of job, right? So yeah, that would be my advice. You should try and get some certification or education from here to boost your chances. Yeah. And then there was the first question that you asked.
Well, the first question was, what advice would you give people on the course that they should study? But before you answer
Yeah.
that, you did mention something on certification. I want to state that if
Yeah.
somebody is going to get any form of certification, make sure that it's with an accredited
Yes.
organization, because there are some individuals, that are going around, giving out
Yeah.
courses like that in their company, and you don't know if that company is accredited. Like if you want
Yeah.
to do something, like if you want to get a green belt, or like Lean Six Sigma, and some, just make sure you're getting it from the right organization, so that when you apply for the jobs or during your interview, you can say that I got it from here, and that gives
Yeah.
you more credibility than just going to get it from just any individual who is not
Yeah,
supposed to.
definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So, answer the question on what advice would you give people who are trying to come to the US to study, or what courses they want to choose? Because I know that being immigrants, sometimes you just want to travel and then you don't really consider the course that you're going to take. And so,
Yeah.
what advice would you give them to be able to succeed?
So I would say the first one is, if let if you're a student, right? If you're a student and you have plans of, let's say, okay, when I finish, I want to explore this, and you want to use a school route, make sure that your grades are good. Make sure that, because I think a lot of people do not consider that when they are trying to come through the school route. If your grades are good, one, you get into a good school, most likely. You probably get into a good program. And then, most importantly for me, is you probably get funding, right? Funding for, because a lot of people cannot pay. All right. So, if you have money to pay, it's fine, or you can go for a loan or whatever, right? But if you don't, then maybe you should work more on making sure that you have like a good second class, upper, first class, maybe even if it's a lower. Yeah, I know some people have come depending on the course and the school and all of that. Make sure that your grades are good. But let's assume that you have finished school, you are working, and you want to explore this. The courses that you should take, um, I think that you should be mindful of the fact that some of the courses, like I said before, are not STEM courses. Okay, or the way that the program is structured are not STEM courses, and so your prospect of like working after you finish school is you have 1 year to find a job, and get an H1B within that 1 year. If you don't get a H1B, then you're in trouble. But if you do a STEM course, you have 3 years to get that sorted out, right? So that's good as well. Now, even with the course, there are some of the, let's say economics, right? I know some economics programs that are considered STEM, and some economics programs are not considered STEM. So if you are good, like you're applying for a program, that's something that you want to check. What's the program? Is the program considered a STEM course or not? You can ask your professors, use your graduate what you might call it, graduate coordinators. If you ask them questions about the program and all of that, most of the time they are very receptive, and they'll answer all of these things. And then if you have anybody in the school as well, like other Ghanaians or other foreign nationals who might have their own experiences to share, it's important for you to throw your questions at them. But ask questions that you will show to them that you have done some work in trying to think about it, right? Or you have done some research and you want some top up. Like some people will just throw questions at you and expect you to do all of the research for them. Be like, oh, which school should I apply? It's like, I don't know your course that you did. I don't know your goals and all of that. I don't know which schools you should apply. Maybe I can give you high level, like, okay, maybe check if it's a STEM, blah, blah, blah. But you have to do the work to go and look for, okay, which schools have these courses and all of that. And then funding. So try and make sure that you are seeking opportunities for funding. That might come through like a fellowship, or some people. I got a graduate assistantship, so I was offered a job in the school as a graduate assistant, and I was teaching, and my tuition was waived because of that, and then I was getting a stipend. So that was what helped me to come through school as well. So yeah. Does that like cover most of the things that you wanted to know?
Yes, it does. I also wanted to say something. When you said economics, and I remember I was in that category. So
Yeah,
my master's was in that applied economics, and the whole time I thought that applied
it was
economics
the same.
was a STEM program. So I finished, and I was signing off on the OPT forms, and then they said it's 1 year, and I was like, how is it 1 year?
Aye.
Because the full program is applied economics, agribusiness, and food industry management, right?
Yeah,
And I was like, wait, how? Like even if for nothing, agribusiness is like, even what's the
it's not
definition of
STEM.
economics?
Business
So
is not STEM.
when you're no, agricultural economics, right? So then when you're defining economics, what's economics? It's a science of. So why are you saying I gave all the debates, and there was a couple of us, right? But we
But you
learned the
can't do
hard way.
anything about it because
There's
the
nothing you can do
program
because
is not accredited. So even if you
yeah,
argue with them,
it's
like,
it's embedded in the law,
yeah,
right? So there's nothing that can really be done about it. So I agree with you. You have to do your research, find out that the course you're reading really gives you that ample time to be um,
yeah,
to
fine.
work, and then find your footing in the country,
Yeah,
and then be able to survive or thrive.
yeah.
But I guess
But
my
then
last
maybe I
God.
can add. So it's that's not to say that if you are not in a STEM program, you can't end up getting a job and all of that. I'm just saying that based on my experience, it's easier that way. And then it also gives you time to move from the F1 visa to like something like an H1B. But regardless of the course that you are coming to do, sorry, you should do research on what the program does with the funding, job prospects, and all of that. You should. I'm not saying if you are not doing STEM, don't come. That's not my. That's not the reason why I give that advice. Yeah.
Okay. So would you say that your journey as an immigrant, an educated immigrant, has been easy from the day you stepped your foot into the United States?
Nah,
Give
Charlie.
us some stories, give us some experiences, and then share your advice.
Yeah, it's not been easy, but I can imagine that it's been easier than others, or it's been harder than other people's stories, right? People have very unique stories. So I know people who have like for example, I know people who came in very good resume and everything, but for some reason we're not getting internships. Like it's like this person, I know this person, I've not been in the interviews, but the caliber of person that I know and the way they talk and the way they address things, maybe I think they would do well in an interview, but for some reason they were not getting like internships, which was hard. Um I know others who have tried to get a H1B and have not gotten it. So, and the H1B is a lottery, right? And then there are some people who have tried the first time and they've gotten it, right? So, I'll give you an experience. I I applied for my OPT. I ended up applying for my OPT earlier than I should have applied. So the OPT, when you are going to apply, you count from the day that you are going to finish school, 90 days back. You cannot apply more than 90 days to the date that you are finishing school. So my date of completion initially was a particular date, and that's what I used to do my calculation, and I tried to get it in earlier. But then because of my graduate assistantship contract, the date of completion had to be changed, right? Which ended up rendering my OPT application way too early. Okay. And the thing went through the process. It took 4 months and they denied it. Charlie, Charlie, at that point, I was like, yo, what am I going to do?
I remember I called you one time. You
Charlie,
you were
I
waving
now
to you at the
applied.
post office.
I was like, wait, if anything at all, I applied earlier. So why should you deny me? And even if you are going to deny it, why didn't you deny it long time ago? Like, why did you wait for 4 months? So then I had to apply again because now I was in like, you have to apply not more than 90 days, but before your completion, but not more than 60 days after your completion. Well, I got a response. Then I applied and it took another 4 months. So when I was supposed to start work and everything, got delayed by like 4 to 6 months. And you can imagine around that time, if you don't know where you are going, like you are just here. You are here legally, but you can't do anything. You can't work. You can't. So your savings be and your girlfriend be and things will be supporting his boss. Yo. So I can imagine going, if you are going through that process, it's hard, and it's also unpredictable, and that's something that I don't like. I don't like when I'm not sure when the next thing is coming, or I don't have any control over it, right? Because at that point I had to let USCIS decide what they were going to do with me. Thankfully it came and I got my OPT and I was able to start work. And the company also held my position for me, which I was very thankful for. So that was good. I know others who have had like issues with all kinds of things. So it's not been smooth sailing, but Charlie, we are where God wants us to be. That's what I'll say.
What would you be your final words to my listeners before
To,
we
to,
let you go?
to which people in particular, those back home or those who are here?
Whoever you want to speak with.
Well, if you are back home and you are trying to emigrate, then do your research and make sure that you don't do anything that will make your life harder than you think it actually is, right? Make sure that you have a path. Of course, you might hit roadblocks and you might have to pivot and try other strategies and all of that. But make sure that you are seeking information as much as possible, doing your research and learning the system and how to navigate it. And then if you are here as well, if you are already educated or have some education under your belt, good for you. If you don't, I would admonish that you should do that, unless like you are doing some business B and Charlie is booming. In that case, I'll put my number there. You can link me up. But yeah, and everybody should keep working on whatever they are working on, and God will bless us all.
That's good. Well, thank you so much, Isaac, for gracing my channel with your presence and your knowledge and your experience
Yep.
or experiences.
Mhm.
So hopefully we'll be able to keep this series going and invite you or the whole Gongsmen to come, the whole
Yeah.
team to come on and discuss
Come, don't
something
worry.
major as well. So I
Come.
appreciate your time and everything for this in preparation for this interview. So
Sure.
thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.
So thank you guys for watching. Kindly like, share, and subscribe. Make sure that somebody you know in the US or somebody you know back home in any country at all is able to get this link and watch. I'm sure they'll be able to learn a thing or two about education in the US and finding a job. We'll
Mhm.
continue doing this series. Invite more people to share their experiences on the job market in the US as an immigrant or migrant for those who have less permanent, situations in the US as well. So thank you, and I hope to catch you in another video. Bye.